So what a year for marketing, huh? We've seen so many trends going on. The key trends that I see is obviously regulation. The regulator is telling you what you can and what you cannot tell, and what you can and what you cannot write. The social media bans that were in the news, Google, most recently Bing, MailChimp that influenced the industry. And we have to remember that the Google ban is also influencing the affiliate market. So that is also something that we saw this year. So I want to address the panel, and I want to start with a very specific question, and I want you guys to be honest about it. So the way that we're going to do it, I'm going to start with a question. You guys should introduce yourselves and answer the question briefly. So what I want to know is how did the recent events affect marketing costs? Please go into numbers. How much does it cost to set up an ICO? How much does it cost to set up a proper marketing strategy? So, Nick.
Hi, my name is Nick Lewis. I'm founder and CEO of Explosive. Explosive is a marketing, Marcom, content strategy and events company. Let's be very specific. I just want to find out, how many people here are brokers? Tech providers? Service providers? Affiliates? Okay, so there's a little bit of a myth going on here that the costs have risen like extraordinarily, okay? Most brokers are still taking a lot of the traffic from affiliates. Most affiliates are still doing what they normally do, which is going through Facebook first, okay? Especially for Forex. So in that case, the changes haven't really been felt deeply in the pockets yet. But they're going to be felt because at some point Facebook's going to catch up with Google and then it's going to spread around. But these kind of restrictions have been going on for a while. Outbrain already a year and a half ago banned all financial content. So I mean, it's happening. On the other hand, it's pushing more and more people towards content and search and organic, which is actually cheaper in the long run than any other source of traffic. So.
Right, I'm Maris, CMO of MTE Media. We are helping brokers to make more of their clients using educational materials and market research tools because content matters. And I believe that the market is rapidly changing. However, marketing costs can basically remain the same if you do it right. You do need to diversify channels. And if you are just focusing on Facebook, like Nick just said, then it won't work in the long term. So diversification is extremely important. And if you use the right content, obviously it makes your costs much lower. Now, talking about numbers, it is now say that to run an ICO, you need at least 300 to 400 euros. 300,000 euros or 400. It really depends on what you want to get in return. But still, even though you are spending a lot of money, the return is getting lower and lower every day. Now, for brokers,
makes you think what they do with the rest of the 100 million they raise, right?
Yes, but you know, most of the ICOs are not raising that much. Okay, so yes, we hear about all those who made a lot of money, but the majority aren't making a lot of money. In most of the cases, they are not bringing back the investment.
John?
Yeah, hi. So my name is John Mullen. I'm the Managing Director of Research and Business Development at Trade.io. So we recently completed an ICO back in January, and actually I'm the one person who is not a marketer here, so I'm not going to be able to tell you numbers, but I can kind of tell you from my perspective on more partnerships and deals about how important it is for marketing for ICOs and why we consider it as such a crucial element of our consulting strategy. So I don't want to take any thunder from our lovely CMO Helen over there, because her marketing is obviously above and beyond anything that I could do. But I guess when we're looking at our ICO clients, obviously you have to have this kind of content, organic, paid, and again, it's not just Facebook. You got to go on Bitcoin Talk. You got to have community management on Telegram with 24/7 support. There's all these other things that you might not think about from a traditional perspective that are not necessarily expensive to do, but you know they are something you have to consider. I think we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but that's my two TOs.
Charlotte?
Hi everyone, I'm Charlotte Day and I'm the founder and creative director of ContentWorks. ContentWorks is a social media and content marketing agency, and we work specifically with the Forex sector, the blockchain sector, and the ICO sector as well. So what we're seeing is two sides of the coin following the regulations that have come in. We're seeing a lot more money being spent on content marketing, which obviously makes us very happy indeed. But on the other hand, we're seeing a lot of diversification with regard to social media. We're going to come on to talk about that a little bit later. But needless to say, the regulation changes actually hit at around the same time as Facebook, Google, and all the others made their changes. So this has been a really, really interesting year for marketers.
Scott.
Hi, Scott Giffis. I'm with AdRoll, the president of the company. AdRoll is a global technology that focuses on marketing and advertising automation. We work with around 40,000 customers around the world. So we are a significant player across the likes of Google, Facebook, etc., but also many other places. I think when I look at what's happening, if you're in the industry every day, you realize how big it's become. But if you're outside of the industry, you realize that we're still very much in the early innings in terms of how things are growing. And so the available or addressable market is also rapidly expanding in terms of the people that you can reach and the opportunities you have. I think the dynamic of marketing is rapidly changing as well. So in any early industry, you see a lot in the way of search, you see a lot in the way of affiliate. These are very natural early stage signals. As you evolve, you start to see the dynamic of a marketing operation change. You have to get into more content, you have to create communities, you have to be able to really build a brand. These are important assets that you need to go out and invest in. So while the cost of those assets may be inexpensive in terms of distribution, they are very expensive in terms of creating the right content, the right messaging. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see how the marketing evolves across the industry now and matures into, I don't want to call it unsophisticated because it's certainly not, but there are different elements or different facets that are more sophisticated that we'll have to invest in now.
Okay, so I think you all mentioned content. Content is king, as we all know, and I'm the first to admit it. How would you say the relevance of content marketing has changed during the last year with all the technological changes and obviously the regulatory changes and the corporate restrictions? So Charlotte, let's start with you.
I would love to get in on this one, Michael. So I think everybody here who's in content marketing, it's a really good time for us. We've been so undervalued for so long because people have been looking at the quickest way to get the clients, the quickest way for acquisition, looking at clicks, looking at banners, completely ignoring SEO, completely ignoring engagement and how to actually engage your readers, engage your fans. So this is the age of content marketing. And what we're seeing is we're seeing brokers come to us who told us last year that content marketing didn't matter. They didn't even assign resources to it. Now we're seeing people coming to us and saying, oh my goodness, it actually matters, and it does matter.
Charlotte, I'm going to beg to differ.
Go for it.
Good job, Nick.
Content marketing has always been important, and anyone who didn't understand how it affected their bottom line results was just hiding their head in the sand, okay? When you build good content, content is about giving value to the person who's using that content, okay? That value then increases the engagement and the understanding with the brand, which then increases any type of media and sponsorship that you do above and beyond the content, okay? Now that some of those channels have been taken away, it's suddenly come to the forefront. But the same thing exists. You still have channels that you can advertise in, you still have channels that you can reach out to, and you can pay and you can get your clicks in. But now the importance of content is coming across even stronger. I mean, what is the point of doing a Google AdWords campaign if you don't appear on the first 10 pages with the same keyword? I mean, you've completely lost your campaign. So content has always been there as an importance. Now it's becoming even more so. And anyone who's not doing it now is in really big trouble because you need at least 6 to 8 months to get that content, that constant content cycle working before you actually start seeing the results. And right now, this month, no more Google advertising.
Well,
Yeah, I think also, yes, the content was always there, and it was always always mattered. But I think the major change in content demand is with education, because when you're a regulated broker these days, you are not allowed to say most of the things that you used to say in the past. Therefore, you need to find new ways to convey your messages and to attract traders to the business. And this is why the demand for education is much higher than what it used to be in the past. So although content was there all the time, education is getting much more important these days. I think this is what Charlotte actually said.
Yeah,
I just
absolutely.
I just want to throw a question here. So we all agree that content matters, and we all agree that it used to matter in the past too. And education obviously is also a very significant tool. But you mentioned other channels. What channels do I have? I mean, I set up a website. I have a great content. Maybe I have an education channel, but I'm not going to be promoted on any of the platforms. Who's going to see my website?
Okay, so above and beyond your organic reach, which you still have, okay, that no one's taking away your organic reach, okay, you still have other media channels that you can use. You still have the ability to go to TV and radio, which the costs are coming down every single day, like to affordable levels. But above and beyond that, you also have like native advertising. Taboola still accepts advertising from whoever you are. The whole idea that in any case was to bring someone to your property, okay. What's changed is, what has and hasn't changed is providing that value, and that's where education material comes in, and that's where like your differentiations coming in. Is how are you going to provide the value to your user that you want to gain?
There's a
Can I beg to differ as well? With regard to you mentioned the organic reach. Actually, this is another major issue that we need to look at for content, because for the bigger pages, and I'm talking specifically the bigger pages now, we're talking about 2% engagement of organic fans. So we're having to look at ways to generate content that's grabbing attention. So more recently, in the line of all of the regulations that came in this year that we were having to deal with, Facebook also reshuffled its algorithm again to prioritize news that was being shown from your friends and family as opposed to brands. So we're now in a position where we really have to produce content that is actually engaging our organic fans. Okay, if you want to boost it, but you know, when you've got thousands and thousands of fans on your page and they're not seeing your message, there's a reason for that, and we have to look to why.
There's a few things. So one, there are 500 different exchanges and media outlets around the world. Google, Facebook, these are major publishers, but they are not the only place to go and promote and push content. And I think you have to understand how to measure and monitor the effectiveness of those advertising campaigns if you're going to be promoting content. The other thing, though, is in the content, I think one of the reasons that some of this regulation has changed is because that there was a level where we weren't responsible with the type of content that was being created. And this is a real danger that industries face, and we have to be very careful and self-regulate each other to make sure that the quality and the bar on content is very high. So the educational component, I think, is really important, but clickbait and those types of things, these are dangerous incentives, and they create poor content that actually hurts the entire industry.
I think we're missing two pretty key things here, particularly for the crypto industry, to be completely honest. When we're talking about content, particularly in the crypto space, I mean, people don't follow companies, they follow individuals. They follow BitLord, or they follow these big names on Twitter. They're not necessarily looking for this type of content.
Vitalik and
yeah, exactly. You know, they're looking for figureheads of companies. They're looking for CZ, and they're looking for Jim Preisler, or me, hopefully. So this is something I think we're not touching yet on this panel yet. And I think the other part, in terms of the regulation side of things, the reason that these companies have clamped down on it is because a lot of the SEC, a lot of these regulatory bodies are classifying these issuances, token sales, as security sales. And if you're marketing these illegally, that is a severe securities fraud. And I think that's something we haven't talked about as well.
On your first point,
Nick,
welcome to influencer marketing. It exists.
I agree.
John, I want to focus the conversation, and you rightfully so. You mentioned the cryptocurrency world, which is slightly different, or even very different. So you have obviously Twitter that I mentioned earlier, that I follow you guys on Twitter, and you have your strategy going on there. and you don't really need ads or anything else. You just have your followers. Obviously, you have Telegram, you have Reddit, and you have so many alternative channels that you can use as a cryptocurrency provider, exchange, coin, whatever. So would it be safe to say that there are sufficient alternative ways to bypass Google and Facebook and other regulators?
100% yes. I think Helen could
Can
probably
you elaborate on that?
Well, I mean, again, I'm not coming from the marketing side necessarily, but we work across all these different channels, whether it be, I think people sleep on LinkedIn, to be honest, in the crypto space, but obviously Twitter is quite important, Discord, Bitcoin Talk, Reddit is quite important, but we're trying to have a strategy across all of these channels to reach a wider range of audiences. If you're more on the tech side of things, you have to reach out to more the tech-minded people, so they're going to be on GitHub, and they're going to be on these types of platforms rather than looking at Facebook or techies don't like Facebook.
Yeah,
Can I just jump in there as well, just to echo exactly what you were saying? One word, video.
Also, yeah.
Video people. So there's 500 million hours every single day of video being watched on YouTube. That's huge. That's huge. And when we're talking about blockchain, when we're talking about ICO marketing, you know yourself, John,
And
because
education.
of your fantastic video for Trade.io, you know exactly how successful video marketing is. And what it's doing is it's explaining the product to people who don't understand, and it's creating credibility for an industry that is a little bit shadowed in your Morovsky coins and your dodgy ICOs.
100%. I mean, to be completely honest, it's kind of embarrassing because I travel all over the place and people still recognize me from that video of, let me tell you about blockchain. So unfortunately, that's how I'm going to become famous now, I guess.
With marketplaces, though, so people are going and searching for information, right? That's still happening. And if they can't find it in the channels that exist today, they're going to go and search the next channel. So if you look at Amazon as an example, in the States, obviously it's a little bit bigger than it is in Europe, but the dynamic of consumers who were looking for products on Google has shifted entirely, and now they go to Amazon and search for products. And I think what you'll find is people will seek information and they'll go to different places, as you mentioned. And so creating these communities or finding ways to create these new channels is actually a really great thing for everyone. It's harder because you have to go to different places and have different lenses on it. But it's better because you're diversifying your portfolio, your strategy in terms of acquisition, where you're reaching your audiences and how you're changing the stories.
100%
So
agree.
it's a much better situation for all of us.
I touched upon it briefly. Does everyone know what influencer marketing is? Yeah? So, I mean, if we're looking at like a key trend that's going to happen over the next period, it's going to be how to build that influencer network of yours, that are actually championing your brand and your product.
This is absolutely true, especially on social media. To your point, the algorithm's changing. Right. The lenses, the ways you can reach these audiences is through those.
Right, and actually to echo Nick's point as well, absolutely influencer marketing, but we're taking influencer marketing into vloggers now, not just bloggers. So especially in the blockchain and the ICO space, we're looking at celebrities, gaming celebrities, tech celebrities, who will promote product via YouTube, via other video channels, and add not only an air of credibility, but also their own fan base. And that can be millions and millions of people. That's a very, very powerful tool.
So, Charlotte,
we create more jargon than any other industry.
I want to throw in a question following the lines of influencer marketing. Would you say, for instance, take an ICO, can a company build its marketing strategy on influencers without going to the regular, more traditional channels?
No, not only. I mean, you have to have a mix of both, without a doubt, but the influencers do definitely play a key role. But again, you also have to keep in mind that influencers come with their baggage.
And price.
Well, also. I mean, there's people asking for 25 Bitcoin to do, one shill on Twitter, and, that's complete BS, to be completely honest, and it's not going to get you any ROI. But other people actually have the ability to kind of push out your product, potentially sell your utility token if it's not a security, and raise significant amounts of money like that.
That type of marketing is not just about the people. It's all about how you pass it through. So it's not just about picking an expert or some celebrity, but it's also how you deliver it to your audiences. So yeah, it's a major part. And sometimes you feel that, yes, I have a celebrity, and then now I'm set up, but it's only the beginning. Now you need to pass it through. You need to build all your story around it. So yeah, this is a major thing.
So, John, you're basically the only person who's not from marketing or PR. You're from the buy side. You're the client. So I'm very curious to hear your take on it. What do you expect from a company if you approach a marketing company or a PR company? What are your expectations in terms of performances, in terms of numbers, and not only numbers? What do you expect from them when you approach them, and how does it change in the different stages of the ICO?
I mean, fortunately, we have quite a strong in-house marketing team that we can rely on. So we do a lot of our own marketing work in-house, where they have the proper connections to do that. But when we talk to other kind of third-party vendors for marketing, for community management, et cetera, obviously we want to look at past projects to make sure that they're not working with scams or just any crap coin out there. There's tons of shit coins out there, and we want to make sure that they actually have that network to reach who we want to reach. Dependent upon projects. So certain verticals are more finance related, so you have to make sure that they have experience working on fintech projects. Certain are more consumer apps, certain are more protocols, and they obviously reach more of a techie audience. So you got to really determine which client is going to. So from our consulting side, we got to determine which, who we kick that client out to, and how we build that strategy for them that's crafted for them and that's unique and special, as opposed to just giving it to anyone to do Google AdWords and retargeting and all this kind of stuff.
Well, the other hard part, though, and this is important, is when you talk about this distribution now, you need to be able to measure all of these things working together. And I think we often operate in these silos where you're looking at this strategy over here and how did that perform, and we're looking at this strategy over here. You need to pay attention to the idea that the same person could be in both places, and you could be influencing them throughout in terms of their journey. And so being able to map and measure all of those things out is really important. So making sure that your partners that you're working with have that capability, and if not, you're building it in-house. But it's a critical piece to make sure you're getting that single view, so you really can understand and optimize that journey.
I think that's a really, really good point. And I don't know if people here, if you're not dealing in the crypto space, the blockchain space, realize just how expensive it can actually be to promote in that space. I mean, PR.
Please share. How expensive can it be?
Okay, well, there's certain PR outlets, let's say, if you're writing a press release, where they want 20,000 for one press release to be published.
I write for them.
There you go. And that's
They're
pretty
expensive.
normal. That's pretty normal. So, this is another major thing, talking about traceability of costs. I think a lot of people starting up ICOs don't realize just how much money that actually takes.
From a more macro perspective, we've seen so many projects being launched this year, something that we've probably never seen before. ICOs, coins, exchanges, even in the more traditional financial industry, we see so many new companies. If you walk across the expo here, you see so many new brand names. Nick, let me ask you, how can you stick out in the crowd, and how can you be significant upon thinking about your marketing strategy?
I think that the core understanding that you have to have is, where do you give value to your customer, okay? And if you're passing it on, if it's B2B, where you are passing that on, so it's B2B2C, okay? But it's about giving that value and understanding how to leverage that value as much as you can. And that's spreading the message very wide and very hard and getting it across to as many places as possible, which is going to bring us to another set of issues, which is going to be GDPR and privacy policies and cookies, but that's something completely different.
Sure. Let me just throw some buzzwords, okay? AI, VR, AR. What do you think that these technologies, those innovative technologies, what role will they have in the future of marketing? They already have, but how do you see the future with regards to those innovative technologies? So, Scott.
Yes, this is core to what we do. So if you look at artificial intelligence, you look at automation. I think what you're seeing is leaner, more efficient, more strategic marketing departments now who are focusing on strategy and spending less time, changing dials on dashboards to try to optimize different campaigns and programs. I think you'll spend time on your strategy in terms of curating where do you want to distribute your messaging versus systematically going through and optimizing those things. So we're very excited about it. It's what we've been building for 10 years, but I think you're seeing it rapidly continue to evolve and happening across many different industries. when you think about AR, you think about VR. I mean, there's a lot of really cool applications there. I think we're very much in the early innings on those things, but mobile still rapidly expanding and evolving.
Can you give me a very specific example of how you take a company and you help it to reach out using those technologies?
Yeah, so Admiral's platform connects to all of your data. It brings everything into one place and it enriches it. And then what we do is we intelligently orchestrate across all of your advertising and marketing channels. And so we synchronize, for example, your email, your on-site experience, all your display advertising, your video campaigns, and we put it all into a dashboard that you can see it all sort of connecting to one another. And you can really see the influence. When you were talking about some of the investments and where you see value, it's also really important to think about your long-term benefit there. You have to have longer-term strategies when you're going out and doing these things, so you can see over time how these things happen. So it's a very simple experience. Somebody comes to your website, you don't know much about them, they come through one random channel. We actually are able to connect that user to all the different channels that they've been on. So you break down that silo, and then we automate all of those sequences.
I have another thing. It's a different aspect of these keywords. While SEO dramatically changed thanks to algorithms or AI. When in the past, all you need to have in order to have a successful website is to have a good keywords on it and some links. These days, it doesn't work anymore. You need the crowd to be engaged. So it's about engagement, and the algorithms can measure it.
Yes, this is true.
And it's not enough that you have the beautiful website, not enough that you have a network of links. You also need to have the engagement. You have to have again. I'm going again to content because this is what I do. The content is not enough that it will be some short or some text. It needs to be something that allows the visitor, the trader, or the visitor to stay in the website for a long time, and to encourage him to move to further pages inside the website, and to do more action in the website. So this is one key of AI. If you have something to say.
Well, I was just going to say the other interesting dynamic, you sort of alluded to it, is we used to be a very click-based world, right? We used to measure everything on how many clicks did it create. Well, that's just not the way advertising works. That's not the way content works. It's not the way influencers work, right? It's not about clicks to a website. And so to do this effectively, you really need to understand, okay, did they see that and read that content, or did they see and read that ad? And then over time, how many of those impressions or how many of those experiences influence their journey? And that's what AI can do. And there's no way for a human to be able to do that across the board. And then personalizing each one of those touch points with relevant content, that's something that only artificial intelligence can do.
John, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, so I mean, I just think we also probably have a little bit of a fundamental misunderstanding of what exactly artificial intelligence is. We're probably more talking about data analytics and maybe getting into the machine learning processes. But from a fintech perspective, from the actual technology perspective, I mean, this is still far and away from where AI is actually going to be. This is
well, our artificial intelligence.
I'm not talking specifically about yours.
I'm
not that's familiar with it.
Yeah, but it's true. It's people have a.
They throw the buzzword on there because it's nice and sounds good, but in the end, it's not actually artificial intelligence.
I think, though, I mean, just to jump in quickly on the AI subject.
I actually wanted to bring the conversation back to you.
Oh, lovely.
And to content marketing. The problem with content marketing nowadays is that you said rightfully so that it is a key tool for us to use now in our marketing efforts. The problem is people understand that, right? I mean, people understand that they're reading marketing material. So upon reading an article on your favorite news outlet, you start to think, okay, who's behind it? Who's paying for it?
Right.
So it becomes more and more challenging to practice content marketing. So how do you do that?
Okay, so this is a really, really good point. We're living in the age of fake news. Fake news. What do you believe? What is real? When you read a piece of news, is it real? And just to add to this, we're marketers. Everyone in this room pretty much has some understanding of marketing. We are responsible for the fake news in this industry. We are responsible for it. So let's look at the fake testimonials that people place on Forex sites. Let's look at the fake pictures that people use of their fake clients. Let's look at the fake awards that we write up in our fake PRs. Let's try to be real, because we're actually making this industry bad. And it's time that we bring it back to being authentic. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't promote content. Bringing it back to Michael's point, of course you can promote content, but you really need to be authentic. We are all responsible for creating a cleaner industry where people trust what brokers are saying, and at the moment they don't, and they probably shouldn't.
You know, but
So the blockchain comes in.
It's very nice. What you're saying is very nice. However, it's too hard. So most of the people here won't do it because why bother to keep the industry clean? I mean, come on.
I think
We
that they
won't
will
change
do
the
it.
industry,
I think that they will do it. I think because they're now seeing the value of more authentic content. I mean, we're seeing really excellent results with storytelling, with authentic content, authentic video marketing. Marketing that's not lying to people, not making fake promises, not using fake actors for fake things. I think people will come around to it, but I agree with you that maybe it will take some time.
I think that most people don't read news, okay? They read opinion, and they read comments on opinion, and they read comments by other people, and what they're looking for is to find, and they actually have a way of like finding out where the truth is anyway. The old age of PR and I'm going to send out PRs is a dead age. You know, it's important to have some PR, but what's more important is to give, I go back to it time and time again, is to give value to the reader, value to the person who's watching the video, value to the person who's seeing your content. If they have value, they'll read it. If there's no value, they won't read it.
I mean, the media, news everywhere is a media business. It's built to create readership so that they can sell ads or sell subscriptions. And so everywhere you go now, I think people are questioning the content they're reading, regardless of whether it's from a journalist or from a sponsored content. I think you just have to be very careful and make sure you're rising above the noise. I do think that there's plenty of nefarious players in every industry. This is not unique, but it's sort of beholden to the industry itself to self-regulate and push those folks out because it's in the long-term interests of the industry as a whole. Everyone will do better long-term if we sort of focus on moving those folks out.
Right, and I think actually, you know, we can say the same for the crypto and the blockchain space, that we're partly responsible for the bans that have now happened on social media. Marketers are responsible for this because we've been pushing fake news, fake social media updates, fake coins, and of course they've caught on, and now for the protection of people who are using social media, they've put a block on.
We're almost out of time, but I wanted to ask John a little bit about the existing clients, about community management, about retention. Can you give some best practices about it? Telegram, Twitter, Reddit, maybe other alternative channels to how to communicate with your community?
Sure. I mean, you know, as a company that's done an ICO, we have our own coin out there. We have thousands of token holders who pretty much are 24/7 asking us questions, giving us responses, live feedback on everything that we do. And you pretty much live or die by your community, and it really comes down to supporting the community, listening to them, getting feedback from them, and engaging with them. You know, there's a lot of companies out there that have no product, they have really no business to speak of, yet their tokens are worth, you know, billions of dollars in market cap because they have great PR, they have great marketing, they have, you know, they're really good communities, really strong communities, but they don't actually have a business yet. So that's kind of a unique thing in the crypto space. That's, you know, you live or die by that community. That being said, if you don't engage with them, if you don't keep them up to date, you know, your coin's going to go, you know, to the
Erez, I want to allow final summarizing question because we want to leave time to the Q&A. So let me ask you, if you were a company with a very limited marketing budget, and you would have to put all your money on one channel, one practice, what would that be? I know it's a hard question, but very shortly, what would that be and why? So Nick, starting from you, and we'll just do the round.
I think it's a very hypothetical question. If you only have that amount of limited budget, you shouldn't have opened the business in the first place. But having said that, let's say we go back to the premise that you could just do one. I think that there is traction to be gained, and there are enough cases where you can see that people have made money out of just having good ranking on search engines and good search and good organic reach. So I would say that that's probably where, if I had to choose, I would go.
I must disagree with you. You cannot choose. You cannot choose just one channel. It won't work. So yeah, so it just won't work. So the question is sorry, but it's wrong because you cannot pick just one channel.
I think that's the point of the question.
What?
I think that's the point of the question, to make you choose.
So I won't choose. Okay. So but what I can say is that you need to pick at least two channels. One SEO or organic marketing, and the second is paid marketing. And you need to combine these two. So which one? It really depends on the market, depends on your audiences. It really depends on many things. But paid marketing and organic marketing must go along together. You cannot do with just one of them. I see so many brokers and businesses who are going for just paid marketing at the beginning, and it's simply wrong.
So I'm also going to be like him and not choose one. But basically, since I'm not coming from a marketing background where I would put all of our eggs in the basket, it would be for the Telegram community. Because again, as a company that's done an ICO, we live and die by our community, and thankfully we have a very, very strong one that gives us great feedback, and without them we wouldn't be anywhere. So thank you to the Trade.io community. Shameless plug.
That was shameless.
It's true though. I'm being genuine.
So okay, I'm not going to sit on the fence. I'm going to pick one. Obviously, diversifying across all channels is essential. We've talked about video marketing, which is crucial. But if I had to pick another channel, I'd go with Twitter. I'm a huge Twitter fan. I'm crazy about Twitter. You can reach out to influencers so easily on Twitter, and it's a much more interactive community where they will actually respond back. I mean, just this morning, another shameless plug, ContentWorks, got a retweet from Murray Smith. She has like 2 million fans on Twitter, on Facebook, simply because we tagged her and we said, have a great day. And we put our website in it, obviously. So she retweeted that, then all her fans have retweeted it. So like we've got 60-something retweets just from that one thing. It's so accessible to get to influencers, and so Twitter, yeah.
One thing with Twitter, though, at least in the crypto space, is you got to be careful because literally anything we post, there's going to be 10,000 people giving away 10,000 Ethereum, so be careful.
Have you already added...
We are not giving away Ether, I promise.
Yeah, that was my question. Scott?
Yeah, no, it's a difficult question, and I agree. If you don't have the budget, you probably shouldn't participate. But I think the social channels are probably the most cost-effective channels in terms of getting started. But you can't discount the cost of the person that's going to be required to do all those things, and the team eventually to do those things. So there's no easy trade-off. You either have paid media that's highly automated, or you have these other programs that are very manual that you need to push. So you're going to have a difficult time if you're too limited.
Just need to get more budget.
More money.
Do an ICO, we'll consult for you. And you have your budget.
Thank you guys for this lively, interesting, and in-depth conversation. We'll open the floor for questions. Please state your name and who are you referring the question to.
I would like to hear from you, from each, from his own perspective or her own perspective, what value can this industry give to clients that brokers are not aware of? Because for a trader, and it's fairly challenging, because as a trader, I have my Investopedia.com, I have my sources. I don't think brokers, new brokers like the white label of a tech provider can really compete with the giants of trading education or value. So what value can I provide as an upshot broker starting today?
Well, it's very simple. It's very simple because, yes, there are so many resources out there. There are also so many traders out there. And unfortunately, most of them aren't really learning, okay? And as a broker, if you wrap your services and present it to your traders, it's one of the best ways to approach your traders. So the value you give them is making them better traders. So even if you are not making them professional traders, if the content is in a good quality and it's engaging, and it's not just several short videos, but it's something that they can really learn from, then it can be a great value, and this is why this type of approach working.
Have you seen the video of the Shed restaurant in Dulwich?
No.
Yes.
Yes?
Really nice.
Okay, has anyone seen it? About a guy who's an influencer marketer for TripAdvisor, and he manages to get a non-existent restaurant in London to #1. Okay, I don't think being small is necessarily a handicap. I think what people are looking for is something that's honest and that they can engage with, they can feel that they can belong to. And I think, you know, having the right tools at their disposal is one thing, having the right information around them, having that trust to know that your money's not going to go away. I mean, I worked in gaming for a number of years. The key way of finding a VIP player on a casino was they will put in a $20 or €20 deposit first and then try and withdraw. Okay, the quicker they got the withdrawal, the more money they put in afterwards, and I think like that's the level. That's where you have to kind of like go towards.
I think also just to jump in on that, those of us who've been attending these expos for a number of years will understand that we've gone from offering really flashy bonuses down to offering leverage. We're always jumping to the next shiny thing that we can offer to traders. But when that's taken away, who are you really? What are you really offering to clients? And I think that this is where marketing strategy, especially for new brokers, those who are setting up now, really need to think about the benefits. And this is where it comes down to education. It comes down to corporate social responsibility, to employee advocacy, all of these buzzwords that people have ignored. There's no more leverage to offer. There's no more bonuses to offer. Let's get back to the real thing.
Yeah, I was speaking with a VC that works with a number of the U.S. trading firms, like the fintech ones. Like I'm not going to speak Robinhood, Wealthfront, and none of those. And he mentioned, I'm not saying which one, but he said one of them had a near zero cost of acquisition, specifically because they were able to use PR from the news. They would just have on the tech blogs, and people would pick up, you know, this is an amazing fintech product, free trading, things like that, and they do zero, you know, paid advertising now, just because they're getting all this free press. Is there an idea of free press? I haven't really seen much of it for like CFD brokers and cryptocurrency companies. Does that work, and can it work to get free press to actually get retail traders your product?
There are some channels that do accept like good content on your behalf, and that becomes free press. Again, it's about generating the good, engaging content, but it is available. There are other outlets that you may think that the CEO has given an honest opinion and you've paid rather a large amount of money to get that opinion published. So, yes and no.
I mean, just taking the maybe cryptocurrency blockchain space as an example, you know, if you talk about Vitalik Buterin, one of the co-founders of Ethereum, anything the dude says is going to be picked up by all the cryptocurrency publications. That's free press. Anything that he says.
I think also, I mean, if you're going to go down that route, you really need to have the leaders of the company who are actually really involved in the content marketing as well. So the thought leadership element comes in here. Your CEO needs to be a good speaker. They need to be blogging. They need to be writing. They need to be passionate. I think if you want that kind of thing for free, you've really got to put a lot into it.
The CEO needs to be a good learner.
I have a question about the future of mass media and about news outlets. Charlotte said that about the importance of authentic content. What about automatic content, like Reuters does with a special tool? They search for tweets and analyze it and do automatic news. Is it the future?
I think that's a really good question. I think that in terms of the sort of automation of the industry, yeah, that is the future, but it doesn't detract from what you're actually saying. It doesn't detract from the authenticity. Going back to that kind of automation, you can already use that on the social channels. You already have these like things that can pick up your news, things that can kind of emphasize what you're saying a little bit more. But I think it's still going to come down to really, really good content that's there in the first place.
I think that as we go more and more technologically forward and more AI and more automated content and more towards this direction, the push is going to come in the other direction more and more as well, which is I want more authentic content. I want more people to write. I want to read and see real live people. I don't want to see like something that's been generated, and I think that's going to come back. And especially like when you're considering, I mean, we live in an age, my children, they don't know what privacy is. They have no idea. They've grown up like on a social network where everything's available to everybody all the time. You know, and I think that's something we also have to address. We have to understand, like, you know, as our audience changes, we have to be able to provide that kind of like connection and that link back.
Just to add to what Nick and Charlotte said, if I may, as a publisher, we see that in the cryptocurrency world, fact-checking is becoming more and more difficult and more challenging. So I think that at least the existing automation tools do not provide you with the sufficient fact-checking practices needed. Because as you mentioned, there are a lot of fake news, a lot of fake profiles, a lot of rumors. Some are initiated by competitors, right? So you still need that human behind the keyboard to look into the news and to fact check, and sometimes to contact the person from the company to get the response. So I think that that's one of the pockets where technology is not there yet and might never reach that point.
I want to ask a question back. No one's even thought about like the opportunity that regulated forex brokers now have on advertising channels. I mean, it's amazing. You can now go out and get your own traffic with no competition, okay? And one of the things that I've seen that's missing, and we've asked about AI and intelligence and how to move forward and how to do advertising better, I have never seen in forex a live banner. When I'm talking about a live banner, I'm talking about a banner that says, this is the price for Euro USD, trade now, and you get that price. And it's possible. I know it's possible because William Hill do it on their betting sites. And I think that's an opportunity that's missed. Forex brokers who are regulated have a really, really good opportunity. They can conquer everything. They can have the advertising space and the content space and wrap it all up really nicely, at least for the next few months. And now's the time to seize that opportunity.
I think just a quick point, just to add on the banner advertising, 18 to 34-year-olds behave very differently with regard to banner advertising than those who are a little bit older. They're much more distrusting of banner ads, of social media ads, hence why video and storytelling is more successful generally with that age group. And what we have to remember is we've all been marketing in this sector for quite some time. The people who we were marketing to have grown up. There's a new sector coming in now. So if we're targeting, 20 to 35-year-olds, we need to take a slightly different approach.
That's actually not entirely accurate. The advertising industry did 88 billion last year. It eclipsed television for the first time ever.
Oh, it still works, definitely, but tailored.
Mobile grew 23% as a result, despite the, so you're seeing a huge growth trend. I think what is being delivered and the measurement is really important, and that's an important distinction. I think also where you're seeing them participate is obviously...
But ad blockers are up though, right?
Ad blockers are up, but we're still seeing the industry grow dramatically. And actually, if you draw the line out on ad blocking and those types of things, what's going to happen? Consumers are now going to go to publisher sites. They're going to get blocked. They're not going to be able to participate. They're going to be asked to change to a different browser. All those things are happening already. So I think there's a different relationship.
Right.
But video certainly, video is becoming faster and easier to create. And it's definitely being more valuable and engaging. But I wouldn't say it's a dead space.
No, I agree. It's not a dead space, but it needs a lot more thought than it did before. It needs a lot more tailoring and better content, of course.
As someone who's actually in that age group, I can concur that we don't trust those kind of banners.
I think people in general don't trust advertising. Or content, as well. I think all of these things, we have to be careful and thoughtful around our strategies and how we do it over time.
I think it's important to state that banner advertising has gone to a performance base anyway. So, I mean, it's known gain, no loss. But if you're providing something that has value, like a live banner, and you ask about differentiation before, if you can offer a price there and there on your trader, and you can grab some of them, you've done part of your job. And you've only paid for the click. You haven't paid just for an impression.
The concern I have is, and Admiral has a lot of customers that are up-and-coming brands. The regulation carries a heavy tax, and so the concept that if you're regulated, you do have an opportunity. That's true. That's fantastic. But we also need to make sure we're creating paths and inroads for companies to get to the size and scale where they can be regulated, where we can continue to see innovation. Otherwise, you end up in a similar construct that we do in the current financial industry or other things where you have just big
I think regulations are something completely different, and the regulation's gone in completely the wrong direction.
I saw a few more hands raised. I want to offer one more question to the audience.
Yeah. Hi. I want your opinion and your experience, if you have any, in terms of using AI to generate content, and how this can obsolete content writers in the next 5 to 10 years. because, as you know, there is a lot of startups right now. They're creating AI that AI can generate even AI. NLP, natural language processing, is not there yet. It's going there. And how this will affect your whole marketing or even your companies, etc.
Well, I think AI is getting smarter and smarter every day. However, so far, we don't see any emotional aspect in AI writing. So to have a good article, you must involve emotion in writing it, and when you're reading it, you must feel some kind of emotion. So we are way far till the day we find an AI who can write content that the viewer or the reader can really get emotional involved with it.
So I don't know if you guys remember when Microsoft launched Tay, the AI robot on Twitter. The welcome message was supposed to be superhumans are cool. And after the end of the first day, it had been taught by Twitter users to say Hitler is awesome. This is what can happen when AI goes wrong. I wouldn't trust AI at the level that it is at the moment with our content. I wouldn't rule it out in the future, but I think content managers, content writers, you're safe for a good while yet.
10 years is a lifetime in technology. If you saw Google's most recent voice solution, it was dynamic, it was engaging, it was very, very intelligent. It created unique content in what it was saying. If you look at NLP technology, it's advancing at a rapid scale. The idea that content can't be created by AI is not true, in my opinion. I think it is coming. How fast and to what extent? It doesn't mean that if you're in content, you don't have a future. That is not the way that works. As machine learning gets better and better, as AI gets better and better, we have to continue to elevate, what humans do. But I would not say that it's years away.
I think that the same way, like if you're going to interview someone, you Google them or you look up their profile and you like to see like a little bit of background. And if you're going to follow someone who you're going to read as like someone, or you're going to watch, you're going to want to see like a little bit of background. You're going to do that research, and it's not going to take long for you to realize that it's artificial. However, you could actually be upfront and say this is an artificially generated content, which would have its own like a benefit, like from a marketing perspective.
There are publishers that do that today.
I mean, how many times do people try and trip up Bixby or Siri?
Washington Post has a reporter that's a robot reporter that generates like 600 articles a year, which an individual cannot do. While you have loss of some jobs, there's going to be creation of others, and you just move to that space.
Right.
You're filling that void.
That's right.
It's the same thing that happened in the finance space with automation of trading.
Exactly.
Goldman Sachs used to have 600 currency traders. Now they have 2. Exactly. Where have they gone? Now they're all engineers.
Right.
Okay, so thank you very much for a broad discussion from the very pragmatic to the visionary. Put your hands together for our panelists who's given us a lot of practical tools. I will be waiting to see the dynamic banners on my homepage soon enough.